Hello and welcome to this very special edition of Harvest. It's the one where, well, I'm not here. We're busy recording new episodes, but in this special collection, we're going to have a look at these early episodes where we've been gathering loads of amazing insights and invaluable wisdom from MSP experts and sales leaders who understand how to generate more revenue from your existing client base. So throughout these conversations, we've had industry leaders like Nigel Moore from the Tech Tribe, Dan Scott from IT Nation, the amazing Jeffrey Newton from MSP Insider and Sift, Ian Groves from Start Tech, and sales expert Yuri Vandersluis, who shared their expertise on basically helping you transform your business and get it ready for the future. Their knowledge just spans decades of industry experience, from building community amongst your clients to understanding the metrics that matter for spotting opportunities, from implementing streamlined sales processes to having the confidence to just stand firm on your service offerings. These highlights are going to give you a taste of the practical wisdom shared in our full episode. So if you like some of these, make sure you go and check them out. They're focused specifically on helping MSPs like yours find growth opportunities within your existing customer relationships. As always, no theory, no fluff, just actionable strategies you can apply to your business. Let's get harvesting.
So that leads us nicely into this then. We're talking about tactics and how we're going to do this. So Nigel, you and I are going to start an MSP tomorrow. Just thought I'd let you know. We've got 3 years. We've got to make it as big as we can. We're looking to exit in 3 years. That's all we want to do. What are we going to do? How's it going to look in terms of structure? And what are we going to sell? What would you do if you could do it over the pool of knowledge?
Knowing what I know nowadays, if I had to exit in 3 years, because 3 years is not a long time in the MSP space at all, especially with the long sales cycle that MSP contracts have, I'm going to be a bit cheeky on this one. I would go out and raise money and buy other MSPs. That's as simple as I would do. And I would go and raise the money. Even if I had zero money at all, I know I could go out now and raise capital to go and start an MSP. And those of you that are thinking, oh, it's so hard to raise capital, it's actually not that hard to go and raise capital when you learn how to do it. And so that's like, if I only had 3 years to go and do something, I would go and buy an existing MSP that's, I would spend all time, effort, and energy I possibly could on finding a great MSP that's kind of maybe unloved or has gone through a bit of a phase where there's a bunch of opportunity to go and clean it up. And
what does unloved look like? What does dirty and unloved look like?
Often it's an owner that's fallen out of love with it and left it in maintenance mode for a good couple of years, right? And so they've got clients that are plodding along. They've got loads of orange on their client services matrix in there because the owner's making okay money out of it, but it's not optimized by any means. They're probably sitting at a level 3 or 4 on the operational maturity level chart, and there is tens of thousands of those MSPs out there where the owner has made some money. They're now making maybe a couple of $100,000 a year seller's discretionary earnings out of it, or take home out of the business, and so they're not motivated by the big bucks. And then you get in and you spend those couple of years like fixing up all that orange, like painting that spreadsheet green instead of orange out there, and hopefully if you've got enough capital and you've raised enough money to be able to buy an MSP that's got some access to marketing budget, you go down and you throw some marketing budget in and you put some dollars towards sales in there as well.
Is there like a common mistake that really stands out for you that kind of just appears over and over again in the groups?
I see businesses too often that don't empower their teams to help them grow. That doesn't mean we're making everyone a salesperson, because if people want to be in a growth-based role, the odds are they will be, or they're going to ask to be. However, don't overlook the power of your team in helping you grow. I've seen some amazing businesses, and when you look at the habits that people are doing, let alone look at the numbers, or look at the job titles or anything like that, but look at what they do. Look at what people are doing. And definitely one of the secret tricks that people use that unlock growth is that they empower their teams to help them grow. And I'll give you a specific example. And again, it's a bit over the top, but it proves a point of, a client talking to a team member on the help desk, and they've had lots and lots of issues with, say, spam email, with junk email coming in. For that help desk team member to say in a conversation, and we're not targeting them, we're not quoting them, none of that. And let people do what they do and what they were put on earth to do. Do you know what? We've had other clients that have had similar problems to this. This service that we use, it just gets rid of them, just gets rid of the problems. That literally the phishing emails just go. And for the most part, we find ways to solve it. It works really well. All I see from my perspective is we hear from them a lot, and then we don't hear from them. And that's really, really powerful because it's a recommendation from a friend and from a trusted source and from someone who's there to help you get over a problem. And it can remove a lot of friction and issues and, remove a lot of the work of someone who is tasked with revenue growth and with service positioning from being able to come in then through a trusted handover to say, I believe you had a chat with the person on the help desk. And if you value some more information, I'd love to give it to you. Just drop a call in my diary or I'll send you something over and we'll chat about it next time I'm in for our QBR. We'll add it to the agenda and go forward that way. So it's just giving people the keys to say, actually, you can help here. You can help get rid of the problem. Again, spin it in a way that's relevant to the person. You never talk to the same people, talk to different people in the same way. You always do different teams, different messages. So I'll give you a working example from my days when I was part of an MSP. I remember talking to a team member of mine and so am I, by the way, as you can see from the background, who was just a massive techie. And he is awesome, and so am I. So it's it's a kindred conversation of, if you want to play with some of this really, really cool stuff, wouldn't it be great that your clients had it and then you can have you get to use it and you get to see it in the real world rather than just in the training lab. And they were like, yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? That's exactly what happened. And he went off and said, yeah, we've got this thing, it's really good, and this is what it would do for your business. And I don't know any of the stuff like pricing and any of that stuff because that's not a me thing, but I think it would do this and this. It's going to help us fix the problem that you've got. And then it allows that conversation to happen so much quicker and easier. But it's about empowering the team. Let's say, for example, you've got a team of 5 people and 50 clients that within the business. If only one of those people is the person who's tasked with going and seeing everyone, sitting and having the QBR, talking about what's new in the world of IT, talking about what other products and services we could bring in that are going to benefit the business and help move it forward, you can only get around so many. If all 5 are having some form of conversation, wow, that opens a lot of doors. But it's also not about putting a quota around people's necks. People don't want it. That's not about doing that. No one's going to pull anyone up on how many times you've done it this quarter, anything like that, anything. But empower the team. It's amazing what happens when you give people the ability and the trust and you empower them to go and have those kind of conversations. Stuff happens.
So tell me, there was a change at some point. Was it an epiphany? How did it happen? And what happened? What was the biggest, most significant change that you made?
We all like this because I will loop back to someone who's already appeared on your podcast. I think the number one catalyst was the discovery of the tech tribe and the legend that is Nigel Moore. That happened. It was a perfect storm. And they just came together by fluke. I was turning 40, so more aware that what am I doing? So there was a kind of want to get a bit more switched on and more out of my career, dare I call it that at the time. I stumbled across a Facebook group to do with IT companies, which led me to the Tech Tribe, and consequently CompTIA, as was at the time. And I got introduced to a book called Traction, which is about running your business operating system. So that sort of perfect storm came together, and there was so much work to do to put all the parts together. That caused me to have to stop being the tech. I really needed to step. If someone was going to execute pulling all the best of these things together, someone has to stop being a technician and stand back from that stuff.
And so what was your first step then, would you say? So you've got all this knowledge coming from the community about perhaps tools and processes, and you got Traction that potentially you could implement. Can you remember where you started? How would you, I'm thinking of people watching this and maybe thinking, okay, some of this resonates and maybe I'd like to take my first step. What would your first step be, do you think, or what was it?
The first step really was to talk to the wider team and kind of be quite open with them and borderline vulnerable and go, guys, I don't actually like what I do. And that's probably
that was an enjoyable meeting.
It's probably, well, to be honest with you, they all agreed with me. Everybody was. It turned out one thing was on the same page, but not talking about it. And there was a slight element, and I bought Traction, this book to do, which is Entrepreneurial Operating System, which is 6. It sounds a bit cult-like when I say it, and I really don't mean it to, but it's 6 key components on how to work with your people, how to have a vision, how to use data, how to track it, and how to get traction and keep on doing it. And I got about 20 pages into the book. And I'm not a book reader at all. This is like reading a Haynes manual, by the way, for those of you who know about car manuals and mechanics. So as an IT guy, it was like reading a knowledge base article, which really resonated with me. And at page 20-something, it says, get your management or leadership team together. I'm like, I haven't got a management or leadership team. Okay, I'll order a couple more copies of this off Amazon. put a diary invite out to a handful of people. You. Monday, we're going in the meeting room and we're not coming out until we decide if this book is rubbish or worth putting our stock in. Bought them a copy of the book. We went in the meeting room. The guys, they read it a couple of days before. They skimmed it. And they all came in and went, this could be really, really good for us. And I went, okay, page 1, marker pens out, someone on whiteboard duty. Let's just workshop this book front to back. And that's what we did. So we self-implemented. So to your point, what was the number one thing? Was getting buy-in from everybody else. And that really was the beginning of it all. And that got us to think differently, communicate differently. And it really led us then to go, we do too much. There's a huge amount of sprawl in what we did.
Is that where you started? Was that the first realization then? Okay, so let's slim down what we're offering and
trying to get processes and procedures in place as per the framework we were following. It was just impossible. We had every single client was different. We didn't have any decent documentation. It was all in everybody's heads. It was very, very relationship driven. And we had a really good bond with our clients because we knew their systems intimately because we didn't document anything. So we had to know them intimately. But you can't get past a certain number of clients and you can't scale if you don't document, standardize and simplify what you do. So that led us to then go, okay, the whole 80-20 rule, let's look at our lowest performing 20% of our clients, which we thought we knew. And then when we bothered to look at the data, it wasn't the clients we thought it might be.
So how do you focus them back on actually revenue generating tasks? How do you go about generating the new opportunities?
That's really where it got exciting, because that's ultimately where we started to see the crazy upside results, right? Was, okay, now that we have some of this time back, we're going to reallocate that time that we were using wastefully managing this abysmal process of opportunity management and saying, like, this is what at that time it was a quarterly business review is what they were called. We pivoted that to a strategic business review. We looked across our client base. We came up with, I designed what I ended up calling a client complexity score, right? Because not all clients are created equal. And so we looked at our current client base. We came up with a quantifiable way to stack rank our clients based on need. And by need, I'm going back to communication, expectations, touch points, and just cadence of need, right? And it was a 10-question survey. So one of the first things we did was no one knew the clients better than the account managers. So the account managers went in and answered this 10-question survey that had a weighted output, right? To figure out basically on a scale of 0 to 100, where was our book of business? Because we were managing, it's probably 250 clients.
That's just the complexity side. That's not necessarily giving you a picture of, okay, the profitability or opportunity there. It's just kind of what is the overhead of working with this company.
Yeah, because what I was trying to do was to figure out, okay, are we spending the same amount of time on all clients just because that's what the process says to do? Or are we intentionally telling our time where to go so that we can peg that to the anticipated outcome, right?
Okay.
Because there were a handful of behaviors and things that were leading indicators of revenue. And a strategic business review was one of them. But then, again, this is another pitfall, so maybe dropping a nugget there is, like, if your account managers are going out and trying to have conversations with your clients, and they had an agenda, they had everything prepped, they were ready to roll and have this amazing conversation. They show up and they have no other conversation than talking about why Sally's computer at the front desk is broken for the 17th time in 3 weeks. Like, there's so many other issues that you need to solve within the organization, because you'll never be given a seat at the table to have a business level conversation where you're going to ask for revenue if your service isn't dialed in enough that what I call like the good enough line, or the bloody hell should line, like the minimum expectation is being met on a service delivery standpoint. You can't go beyond that if you're not already delivering at that level. And so, like,
wise words. Yeah. That's
one
great.
thing I would say is, like, don't bother wasting the time forcing your account managers or whatever title you have going out trying to farm your clients for additional stuff if your current service delivery isn't sound. Right. And so that's really the underlying thing about this complexity score for me, was saying, of the other 200 accounts that need to be assigned, like, how can I properly set my account manager up for success so that I know there's enough bandwidth to do the activities that are necessary to drive the revenue that I knew could be pulled out of it. And the revenue that I knew could be pulled out was between 20 and 40% of the annualized MRR, so the ARR of what their book of business was.
So customer intimacy sounds really nice. It's building relationships. That's nothing new. But how do you build that customer intimacy? And one of the ways to do it is to build a sense of community. That's a very big word, but it comes down to making people feel that they belong to your brand. Even if you're a relatively small MSP, you have 100 clients, 200 clients, 500 clients. Well, the first thing you have to determine is, who do you want to be? What is your identity? And usually it's analyzed out of what technology services do we deliver, what's in our portfolio. So it's around your tech solutions. But as a brand, you're a lot more than that. So who do you want to be? You can be playful. You can have a mission. What's your mission? What's your purpose? How are you going to help your clients? Because still, I mean, everybody knows this. Technology is a means to an end. It has an impact. It has an outcome to your clients. Now, obviously, I think that one of the best ways is that you have a client portfolio that all share something. There's a reason why they're your clients. What is that reason? Now, maybe they're all in the hospitality space, or they're hospitals, or they're in a legal space, or they're in industry.
Does this work better in if you establish some kind of vertical focus, whether it's totally niching down, or is that the case here?
So verticals is fantastic. I love verticals, but it's not necessarily that it has to be verticals, as long as they all have something in common. If they have nothing in common, it's also really difficult to provide a consistent, predictable customer experience, because one wants this intimacy, the other one said, I never want to talk to you, it has to work. Somebody else wants the cheapest, somebody else wants to learn about new technologies, and it's all over the place. So the more that your clients are kind of lookalikes, for example, sectors, but there are also other ways how to look at clients. But the whole point is there is a common denominator, and the stronger it is, the more you can actually create a brand.
Can you give us examples of that? I'm just thinking about. I'm just imagining like some of the MSPs looking back at their customer base and thinking, well, I've got 3 that are in the legal sector. I mean, I've got a couple of finance guys, but they're not going to have that much in common. Are there any other? What grounds would you suggest you look for sort of commonalities? Is there a tech argument there? So perhaps they're all particularly, I don't know, maybe it's a cyber focus.
I love that question. So the point is, you actually create a combination. So what tech do you deliver? How do you deliver it? And who are your clients? And where is the fit the best? So we've seen an explosion, especially in the security and the cloud space. And it was just land grabbing. And there was so much need and not a lot of suppliers. Now, since we are in a commoditizing space, it doesn't matter who your clients are, because they came from left and right, and business is business, money is money, and it's fine. But just because your former strategy got to where you are now doesn't mean that if you continue on this path, you can just continue to grow like that. So you have to really look at your client portfolio, who suits best to your brand and why. And maybe over time, one of those finance clients, maybe that's not a good fit because their requirements on compliance and other things is not something that you are intrinsically motivated, and you see that your portfolio doesn't really fit that well. You're competing to other MSPs that have only finance. So you have to ask yourself, well, keep them for as long as you can, but maybe those are not your future clients. Or around 40% of your clients are in finance, and the rest is just all over the place. Maybe it makes sense that you move more towards finance or lookalike clients that would fit your client portfolio better, because then you can answer the fundamental question, other than the way how you deliver your services, for what price, who do you want to be, what is your brand, what do you want them to experience, what is your mission, what's your purpose, how do you want to help your clients. Now, once that's very clear, then you've instantly open up this idea of community. Now, I know that community is a huge word, but you can start extremely, extremely small. Because let's say you have clients in the financial space. they also experience a lot of changes and innovation in their business around compliance, around virtual banking, and around optimization and risk, security. There are specific trends. I'm not an expert in finance, but there are specific trends that they are facing all the time, and they want to talk about it. They want to learn. So as an MSP, you have to be aware of what it is, because their world indirectly should be your world. You can never say, I'm just delivering this technology and whatever happens, your business, that's your business. No, it's the other way around.